All right, I'm joined by Sam Pecor. Sam is running for the Biddeford Charter Commission, and I first heard of Sam, or at least me personally, was when Sam, you wrote this, I don't know if you'd refer to it as an op-ed in the Biddeford Gazette about this opportunity that we have with the Charter Commission. So I thought it was fantastic. It was a call to action for me, and then here we are a couple months later. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad that you found that article inspiring. That was really the main thrust of it, was just to try and encourage other folks to get out there and really get involved, have it be on the radar at the very least.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we're here to talk about today. I want to talk about this Charter Commission, the opportunity that it is for the community. You're obviously running for a seat on that commission, which we'll get to, but I think we both want to just educate the population of what this means and what are the things that could be changed through this. Has anyone else mentioned this article to you that or maybe a couple people or anything?
I haven't heard anyone else who specifically said that, that's why they were made curious about it, but I have had lots of good feedback from those who have read it. It hit its mark.
Yeah, that was it for me. So I see a lot of stuff online, just like everyone else, and I think I'm kind of tied into city stuff, but I saw that this was coming up, but I didn't really think too much about what it meant until I read your article. So why don't we just kind of get into what this is? So people had to pull papers to be nominated to get on this charter commission, and this is an opportunity to revise the city of Biddeford's charter, basically constitution, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How often is this something that's revisited?
So in the 21st century, this will be the fourth time. Yep. So I believe a new charter, fully amended, was adopted in 2006. There was another revision process in 2012, and then a subsequent revision process in 2016. And now here we are in 2026 with the fourth.
Yeah, that's a relatively short period of time from 2006 to 2016 to have it done three times. Yeah. Why has it been so long? Are we at the point where we have to revisit it, or what's the thing that is forcing us to create the commission this time around in 2026?
I think there's value in just routinely opening up a document like this for revisions. I kind of I take the approach that our U.S. Constitution is a living, breathing document, and it probably should have been revised a lot more often than it has been. I think the same can be said of our charter. What really has been driving a lot of these conversations, from my understanding, is the difficulty that this most recent election for city council has had, just in terms of 6 new faces on the council, that institutional knowledge all being lost at once, having all the members up for election at the same time. It's been a real friction. And I think that was one of the leading reasons why folks are pushing for this to begin with.
I think that's a huge thing. So it's one of the things that could be tackled. Well, we'll get into some of the things that could be tackled, but what is it? Term limits, staggering terms is what we're talking about right now. Like ideally doing that as opposed to potentially wiping the slate clean. I know that that's how it is for school committee. Same thing. It's a new election every 2 years. So there is that potential for a lot of institutional knowledge to be lost if too high of a percentage of people get reelected. So that's one of the types of things that would get looked at in a charter commission review.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to that, and with any decisions that we're going to have to make, quite frankly, on this charter commission, if I am elected, I do need to say that, right?
Yeah.
I think there will be trade-offs no matter what we do. And that's just something we need to be vocal and honest about. Anytime we're coming up with a proposal, it's going to cut both ways. There's going to be some negative to anything we do.
Yeah. And I guess that's part of the discussion. So before I get to other things that potentially would be discussed, I want to talk about the timeline for things, right? So we just hit a first deadline, which was, I think, April 13th. Anyone that wanted to be nominated to be on the commission had to turn in their papers with, I think, 25 signatures from their ward. Yeah. Obviously, you did that. How many wards are there in Biddeford? Just for anyone that's listening, just so everyone's crystal clear on that.
The charter defines Biddeford as being made up of 7 wards.
Okay. So there's going to be a winner from each ward, right, on this commission, along with 2 mayor appointments as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
And is this commission overseen by the mayor, overseen by the city council? Who has leadership of this commission? Maybe no one.
In a perfect world, quite frankly, there should not be any elected officials meddling with the charter process. That really flies in the face of the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to be a body of citizens representing your everyday average Joes who go in and look at this holistically or specific issues. And they should be the ones making the decisions. Council is always appreciated. Hearing from elected officials what issues they've run into, that can be beneficial. But there is real risk of people trying to put their thumb on the scale. And I really want people to be guarded against that.
Yeah. So it's an independent body. So you have your papers out. You are a nominee now. When is the election for this?
June 9th. So it's the same date as the primary election.
And I think school budget is voted on that same election. So it's historically been hard to get people out for that election. I know being on the school committee for the past 6 years, I think it was like a few hundred every year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And if you look at past turnout for charter elections, people were winning with 5 votes. And it's funny enough, I just had a conversation with somebody you and I both know in Biddeford who had mentioned, well, nobody's going to turn out for this. And I had to look at him and say, you know what's going on, right? We got 2 pretty big primaries. So I'm actually expecting record turnout potentially for this election cycle. So we'll see if that translates into Charter Commission votes.
Yeah, that could change things. How did the final nominees shake out? I guess we don't have to name specific people, but do we have multiple candidates from each ward, or do you even know, is that information public yet?
It is public. Last I knew, there was at least one for every ward. I have heard some conflicting reports that Ward 6 might have a couple, but I haven't verified that yet.
Yeah. So, okay. So the election's on June 9th. Once that board is established, what happens from there?
Yeah. So, high level breakdown, the election happens. The nominations are made by the mayor. The 9 then have 30 days, I believe it is, to sit and have a public meeting and establish the process moving forward.
And that means electing a chair, establishing meeting schedule.
Potentially electing a chair. The thing is, with what's kind of unique about the Charter Commission is that it's all ad hoc. So the state and municipality define very few ways in which the process works. Once we're elected and we sit down as a body, it's really up to us to determine how that procedure moves forward within, some narrow guidelines.
Yeah, so I guess it's still TBD. My expectation, I guess, was that there would be a chair.
And I'm sure there will be.
I'm sure there will be. I guess there's no rule that states that has to happen.
Right.
So I will say I was considering, and we talked about this at the time, we met for coffee, I was pretty sure that I was going to submit some paperwork. Or maybe I said I wasn't going to. I forget where it went along the road I decided. But I think for me, with the kids, I just didn't want to sacrifice time from their stuff right now. And I decided that I could impact the city other ways. But it's going to be probably a 12-month commission, or the commission's going to establish their meeting schedule, whatever that is, every 2 weeks, once a month. Could be more than that, I guess, in theory. Going to get some public feedback on things, but they have to present a plan by next June. Is that what it is? Or 12 months after the commission's established?
The preliminary within 9 months, and then 3 months thereafter should be the final product. However, it can be extended up to 24 months from the point of the election. So in the event there wasn't consensus or there was more work that needed to be done, that could be voted upon by the body, I believe, and extended.
You obviously feel this is an important thing. It's always an important time whenever this stuff gets revisited. How do we spread the word on this? We're obviously doing a podcast now, but what's the ideas to spread the word on this so people are educated?
Yeah, so I know you and I kind of talked about it a little bit. One of the ideas that I'm really excited about, and I'm hoping to get some buy-in from some folks on the school committee, I would really love to see our schools get involved in this process. I can't think of a better civic lesson than being a student and actually getting to participate either, in a mock charter revision commission process. And then that goes home with the students to their parents. And then you learn about it. What better way is there to spread the word than educating our youth, getting them involved in the civic process, and getting their parents involved? Yeah. I think it's a home run.
Yeah, I think that is a great idea, and hopefully you can execute on that. I'd be happy to make any connections that I could, but Yeah, I don't think kids are drawn to this sort of stuff naturally, or at least or most of them
Well,
aren't.
they don't get exposed to it, Randy. I
Yeah.
mean, when do you expose kids to this naturally? It's just it doesn't exist. That connection in our society, it's kind of been frayed.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it would be and like you said, not only does that impact the kids, but if things go home, can pull some parents in and educate them on it. Because I bet you most people didn't realize. I mean, I was an adult for the last, for the last handful of charter commissions. I was a Biddeford resident, and I had no idea any of this stuff was going on. So we're in this opportunity, I guess, with social media now, stuff like podcasts, reaching out to the school as a way to spread the word. This is a campaign to be elected. So do you have any specific ways that you're hoping to connect with the people in your ward, or have you heard of other forums for potential nominees to speak their mind about the process?
Yeah, so I think really continuing to engage with various community groups, with our news partners out there, Biddeford Gazette, Biddeford Buzz, as well as just candidate forums, getting small groups together, one-on-one meetings, door knocking. I think all of it is really important just to get the word out, get people involved, have those recommendations made, and I think it's worth saying that I will listen to any recommendation that someone brings to me. I will give it serious consideration. That doesn't mean I'm always going to do what that recommendation is, but I think it's really important that we understand we need to do this right and we need to get the best product possible, and that's going to come from people engaging with it.
And you talked about just like the staggered terms as an example of things that
Yeah.
get addressed, but like what are more common things that may have been addressed in the past or you think are right to be addressed in this round of the commission?
Yeah, so just to give an example, the most recent 2016 Charter Commission was really, from my understanding, focused on two, call them big issues. One was the residency requirements for a city manager and the superintendent.
Mhm.
The other was relating to the fire and police commissions and shifting that to a more advisory role. And then there was a third, and it's actually funny. My entire involvement here in Biddeford started out from just kind of being curious about serving on a commission. My experience trying to get on a commission was not positive. I was very vocal about that at the time. That's what really led to
Also, what do you mean? Like, were you trying to get appointed to one and you just didn't get that appointment?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was something, it wasn't, hey, this is why I don't feel you're a good candidate. It was open seats on
Mhm.
committees and commissions, and some of which we still have, by the way.
Mhm.
So there are people who are reaching out and trying to serve on these positions who aren't necessarily being given the opportunity to do so. And I was looking at the charter, several read throughs in now, and I stumbled upon I have it written down here somewhere, section 2A, article 2. It actually, for citizen appointments, there's not just the mayor, because conventionally, I think most people understand who are involved in this, and I think even on city council might be under the impression that the only person who can nominate someone to a citizen committee, commission, or a board is the mayor. That's actually not true. And the charter was amended in 2016 to add that the chairperson of any board, commission, committee can nominate a citizen appointment. And this is the one that I can't believe has flown under the radar for so long. The council president, after 30 days of a vacancy, can make an appointment.
Wow.
So there's actually 3 different lanes for getting an appointment to these citizen positions. And I think the general public and even many of our elected officials really only know about one. So that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean I would have thought it was just the mayor that makes those appointments. So that's certainly news to me. Is that something you think should be changed, or it's just one of
No,
those things that
no,
you didn't know and it's worth sharing now?
I'm actually in full support of it. And I think, looking back, and when I campaigned, I had a lot of folks who were trying to get involved in these positions and just were not getting much of a reception. So I think having those 3 avenues is really positive, and I think we need to do a better job communicating that, because I really have a hard time believing that there aren't enough qualified people to maintain full boards and commissions, committees.
Absolutely. So you just were not appointed after like expressing interest in wanting to be in appointed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of no
Fell on deaf
response,
ears.
ghosted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the
That's good.
prior administration. I just want to be clear about that.
For sure. No, no, thanks for clarifying that. But okay, so there's that. Whatever ended up happening with the residency requirements? I mean, I know our current superintendent does not live in Biddeford, so I assume it was either allowed as the rule to not have to live in Biddeford, or maybe an exception was made.
So
How did that land for city manager and superintendent?
it still is required. The city council can make exceptions.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of weak language, to be honest with you. Part of my issue with the current charter as it is there's actually too much prescriptive language. But having some vagueness like that, I don't really see the point. If you're going to just say, well, city council can at their discretion, that doesn't belong in the charter then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, then they would, if it gives the city council the opportunity to do that, they're just going to do that.
Absolutely. You're just granting that power away. So what's the point of having it in the charter in the first place if it's just to grant it away?
And so we got rid of the police and fire commission, you said last time?
That's correct.
Yeah. So what else is there something that there's chatter about between the nominees or that you see online as like things that should absolutely be addressed, or it's just more like coming in with an open mind, seeing what the public says, maybe we make no changes, but we're just kind of banking on things coming up through the process. Where is that right now?
Randy, you're frozen. Oh, there you are. Yeah, okay. There we are.
I have no idea where you lost me, but did you hear the complete question or no?
I think the gist of it was, what are some other things we should be thinking about, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, if I were to list maybe my top priorities, just looking at it right now, and there's going to be a lot more discussions that happen, and I am flexible. I am not married to really anything at this point. So I just want to make that clear up front. Right now, I would really like to see some of the language cleaned up, make it more accessible to people of today. I don't know how many times you've tried to read the city charter, but it's not exactly in layman terms. And I think that's what really makes a good constitution, is something that can be read by anybody. If you need a law degree in order to understand what something means, then that's not a good governing document. So, I mean, that would be really first and foremost, but that's more of a broad, non-specific answer to your question.
Yeah. I think that's a good one, though. I think that's good. I don't even know where to view the city charter. I assume it's on the website.
It's in the code of if you go to the ordinances, it's in the same PDF viewer.
But if it's just a wordy document with a lot of legalese, then that's not very helpful for the average citizen. So I do think that there's some benefit in using some plain language or simplifying things a little bit. What's the other thoughts that you had?
So the prescriptive measures I take issue with, and one of them has been pretty well, it keeps coming up, let's say, and nothing ever happens. It's been mentioned in the last at least 2 commission processes, and that's compensation. So compensation for mayor, compensation for city council, compensation for the school committee members. It shouldn't be in the charter. It shouldn't. That should be something that lives in ordinance. That's a prescriptive measure that changes over time, and it shouldn't require the whole rigmarole of a charter revision to amend. I think.
Does it seem like the people that put it in there just didn't know what they were? I hate to call out people. But it seems like it's not the right place for it. And we talked about this before. It makes me wonder why someone thought it would be a good idea to put there outside of maybe they just didn't understand the best way to do things.
I don't know what the history is on it, to be honest. It's a good question. Not all municipalities obviously do this. I think the common refrain is, oh, well, they're just going to vote themselves in a raise. No, that's not how it works in practice. You can't vote yourself a raise mid-term. Type of change to compensation would be applied towards the next council, and anybody who tried to give themselves $1 million would be quickly voted out. For sure. So, I mean, there's guardrails, but it doesn't need to have the charter as the ultimate guardrail.
Okay, so things like
things like that.
There should be an opportunity to clean up things like that just don't belong.
Right. And that kind of brings up the broader question of what all needs to be changed. And I made a light allusion to it in my article that revision is a little bit deceiving. The use of the word revision, it doesn't necessarily mean, because in the past we've had ballot questions. Every single change was a ballot question. This most recent one, we had 19 ballot questions in the 2016 election. And every single time the charter convenes, one of the first questions they discuss is, okay, this is what's going to be happening when the vote takes place on these amendments. So we need to limit ourselves in how many amendments we put forward because people are going to be busy and we can't get all the changes that maybe we would make because of they're all going to be an individual ballot question.
Yeah.
So that's how every charter commission starts out. So you're already weakening the process, I feel, when you say, look, we can only do so much.
That would be in next November's election. If this goes the way we're talking about, 9 months for a preliminary presentation of recommendations and got to get sorted through another few more months, and then it's going to also be on the ballot in November of 2027, or it has its own special election.
I would prefer to see it on the ballot in 27 in November. You know, I feel pretty strongly that our election should be aligned with voter turnout. I really take issue with these off-cycle elections where you get a few hundred people turning out. It just makes it easier for someone to put their thumb on the scale. A very motivated person, organization can really turn out the vote for whatever they're lobbying for, and that might not be in the interest of everybody in the city.
Yeah. No, these are presumably important things that would be recommended and be voted on. So to have a couple hundred votes or voters making those decisions is not ideal. So yeah, but you do have that say on the commission. Like it sounds like this is not, and you might not know the answer to that, so I hate to put you on the spot, but it sounds like, it's not a sure thing that it'd be in November's elections, but
it's not a sure thing. I mean, there is potential where it could be, I know on the June election. I wouldn't want to see that happening though.
Yeah, you'd be against that. Yeah. Is there anything about the charter or the process that you think people would be surprised to learn about, or it's just all pretty straightforward?
I think we've kind of touched on it, right? Just the fact that it is so open, right? When we sit down as a body, we will be deciding how to work as a body. We will be deciding on the scope as a body. And I think it's really unique in that sense that there isn't, a state statute that defines how the actual process goes about. The state statute basically only defines this is how you start the process and this is how you end the process through ballot questions. And then I believe it's ordinance that defines how many people make up the body. Other than that, it's really open to those members to determine the process, what their scope is, what the outcome is. So if we wanted to, we could have 500 amendments. If we wanted to, we could amend the whole thing. If we wanted to, we could have one amendment. All cards are on the table when we sit down.
What is your pitch to be elected onto the commission? You still fine-tuning that, or?
Yeah, it's funny. I've talked to a couple folks who've been in uncontested elections, and I've told them, kind of on some level, it kind of sucks that I don't have someone to campaign against. And then they'll quickly remind me that it's also pretty nice. And I really hope to use that opportunity.
You don't have anyone? Are you up by yourself in your ward?
Yeah, so I won't have any competition that I know of unless it's a writing candidate. And feel free, if you're a writing candidate, feel free. I'd love to meet with you and talk about it because I'd love to hear your thoughts. But
good to know. So anyways, that aside then, what would you say?
I really just want this to be a collaborative process. And regardless of what the outcome is in terms of what changes, what doesn't change, I would be happy if more people were aware of the charter and its impact on their lives. Because this singular document, this is responsible for how our city hall functions, how our elections function, and that impacts your life in ways that are really hard to define because it's just so disparate, but it impacts you every day. So if we have a weak charter and that allows for an erosion of our city hall, now our city hall is mismanaged. Now your city services are subpar, your taxes. I mean, that impacts you. This all goes back to the charter. So that's why people should care, Randy.
Yeah, 100%. I've had some people say to me that they felt that this is the guiding document for the city. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, it's our constitution. I mean, absolutely. You look at our prior city manager, we had a lot of issues there. And I think the charter can create guardrails. It can't ensure that they're used because there are guardrails already there in place, but they can help reinforce and create additional guardrails to prevent any mismanagement in City Hall. And I think that is maybe the most relevant pitch to anybody right now in Biddeford with all that we have, all of our challenges that we have in City Hall.
I think that would resonate with a lot of people. I only see what people post online, but I think that the general public does think there's a lot of mismanagement. So if this is an opportunity to rein some of that in, add some more additional guardrails, I don't think that that's the worst thing.
Yeah.
Do you plan to do any more opinion pieces on any of the local outlets online, or?
Yeah,
I thought you did a really nice job, like I've already said. So, I mean, I think
thank you.
That's a great way for you to communicate.
I do intend to hopefully put out some more either opinion pieces or posts on the community page. If Randy Seaver is watching this, I really hope non-political charter related items can be approved for the Biddeford Saco community page, because I think that's a great community resource to be spreading this type of information. But that is also the benefit of not having to campaign, is that I can focus on that communication element, right? And that's really important part without all the, not partisan, but without the back and forth, without the angles that get associated with that typically. So I would really love to communicate more through that page. I will have more op-eds. I'll be working with Biddeford Buzz, I'm sure, to be publishing some things as well. And like I said, hopefully some open forums. Just get the word out,
For sure. And I think Randy does a really nice job with that Facebook group. And I don't think it's an easy job to moderate a page like that. I know that there's community guidelines and all that sort of stuff.
I wouldn't want that job.
Yeah, no, and he does a really nice job. And I'm sure it weighs a lot on him in certain aspects. But if there is a way to spread some of this information through that Facebook page, I think it would be a great outlet, as long as it conforms with what he's trying to do in the guidelines, because I do think a lot of people turn to that Facebook group specifically for information on the city. And obviously is part of that. But I guess we will see.
We will.
I certainly will be watching on June 9th. We are not in the same ward. I won't be able to vote for you, but I will be anxious to see how the results come in. And I'm excited for you, man. Unless there's a write-in candidate, I guess anything could happen. But running unopposed is good for you. I think you do a great job on the commission. So I'll look forward to following. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Randy. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. See you.
Thank you.